Let me start off with, 2 wins is not where we want to be right now. It's not good enough. I understand the frustration from fans, ownership, the people inside the building, and nobody's more frustrated than myself. And it starts with me, and I'm tasked with trying to get this organization going back in, the proper direction. And the standard is to compete, for championships year in and year out. And that's the plan moving forward. So, we're going to look at everything, whether it's free agency, drafts, coaching, finishing, execution on the field, whatever it may be. We're going to look at all avenues in order to get this franchise back to where it belongs. As for the coaching changes we made earlier in the year, this is the first time I've spoke with you guys since we moved on from Coach Dayball and Shane Bowen. Dabes and I have an extended history together, professionally and personally. Difficult decision, but one we decided to make. And he's a great football coach, and he's going to be successful in whatever he does. Everything we can right now to support Kafka. That's our primary focus right now, is give Kafka everything he needs in order to succeed over these next 4 weeks, support him and his staff at the appropriate.
Beaver asked the question. What the hell?
You mentioned that your focus is getting Giants back to routine contention and really turning this around.
Yep.
Why do you believe that you're the right person to help turn this thing around?
Yeah, I understand the question. Again, my focus right now is on supporting Kafka as we go forward, and we'll evaluate all aspects of the football operation as we go forward. And has it been perfect? No. But I'm very confident in my staff, myself, and our ability to get this franchise back where it needs to go.
Where does that confidence come from? You're 2-11 at this time last year. You were saying you're close, and you're in the exact same spot now. So what gives you that confidence?
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt. And with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And Eric, first off, we kind of finished, I guess you want to say the first half, but the bye so late, it's well into the season. Well, we finished before the bye, our normal bye break. Kind of just what are your thoughts right now on where things are with the Giants?
I understand the question. I'm not going to answer it. I choose not to answer it. Oh, I said the quiet part out loud. Sorry.
You did, yes. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. Just steer it in any direction you want.
I'm not going to. I understand your question, John. I'm not going to answer. Meanwhile,
I think that was the best part.
Really festive here. I have Gnome Gang Belgian style blonde ale. It's got a bunch of Christmas gnomes on it, and I'm wearing my Happy Festivus shirt.
Nice.
So happy Festivus for the rest of us.
I'm nice.
I got problems with you people.
I'm doing in my frosted Inside BBI glass. I have a gin and tonic. Went a little harder on that one. Underneath my sweater, everybody loves the sweaters that I bust out. It's chilly here in South Carolina right now. It's all gray and nasty, but I've got a Boats and Hose t-shirt on right now. So there we go. We're all set with that one. But so all right. So here we go. We're gonna do this in kind of a flipped sort of order. We'll wing it. That's what we do. We're not gonna do a video.
We're like from Dable's offense. We're just gonna wing
just
it.
Whatever. After the first couple of things, whatever happens. We're not gonna read from a script and make it seem like I'm just reading you a story. If anybody saw a video today, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we had the bye break, and this is normally when GM Joe Schoen addresses the media. It was supposed to start at 1:45. It ended up coming in late. Apparently, he got a ride in with Abdul Carter. So here we are. That press conference, it started out bad. Like it started out like Shane he's kind of breathing a little heavy. I mean, it was like it was literally like the last Christian being thrown to the lions. You know what I'm like? It's like, holy God. But he took it, and man, did the New York media finally actually act like the New York media.
Some of them. Art didn't.
Also true.
Art was still cheering them on. He's like, we can save the Titanic. Look, I'm going to preface my comments by saying I'm not, because people always misinterpret what I say a lot of times. I'm not going to defend Joe Schoen. I will probably be very harsh on him today, but this was almost an impossible situation for him.
Sure.
I'll give him that. So, however, it is not a good look to be 35 minutes late to the press conference that they had. Again, these are tentative. They send these out so people know how this works. The day before, the Giants media department sends the press, and I'm on this list too, sends the press the agenda for the next day. And it said he was going to start, I think it was 1:45. And this is the kind of press conference you don't want to be late for because everybody was there. And at some point, Kafka wasn't originally supposed to be out there, and they kind of threw him out there. It almost reminded me of the scene in Blues Brothers. Remember when they threw Cab Calloway out there to delay, sing while they were doing their thing? So, they throw Kafka out there to start answering some questions, and then he comes really late, and that was a bad look. And the other thing, I don't know if people have picked this up, ever since he was hired, but this has continued. He's a heavy sweater. And not sweater like you're wearing.
Yeah, not mine, which is very nice.
He's a heavy sweater when he talks, and he's been like that whenever. And he gets very shiny when he talks to the press, and he was very shiny. You can't see it in the low grade quality video you and I are going to be using of the press conference, but he was very shiny. He was sweating a lot, which is not. It's like George likes his kung pao chicken.
Maybe that's his Pinocchio nose. The more he lies, the sweatier he gets. He's like, next thing you know, he looks like a freaking mirror. It was bad. It was bad. And there are some pieces I do feel bad. I do feel bad for the fact that you're in a position that there isn't a single question that's going to be asked that isn't going to be negative. There isn't one thing that's going to be thrown to you. There's no softball that's going to be given to you.
There were some softball questions. Art threw up some softball questions.
But it didn't matter. You might as well throw in a softball of just a giant thing of whipped cream. I mean, it was
rate your reporters in terms of how they did.
Amazingly enough, I am usually very anti Pat Leonard. I thought he nailed it. I thought his questions were, and we'll talk about those more specifically, but his questions were very direct. He didn't let him off the hook. It wasn't like he was badgering him.
He wasn't disrespectful. I don't think he was disrespectful. He was asking, but he didn't let him off the hook, which is what a good reporter does.
And he used the words that Shane used back to him in the next question. So if you're going to say something very top level that says, it's like your kid saying, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, what are you sorry for? So when he said, I had to play a role in it, well, what role do you think you didn't do well? Is it this? Is it this? And then when he kind of danced around it again, he was more specific. So we'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
I thought Ian was great. I thought Dan Duggan did a pretty good job. And Jordan Renan, he didn't ask as many as he could. I think he's kind of saving some of his. He's dropped his on a podcast, and I do want to get to that. There's one very specific thing that he dropped that I thought was really interesting. But I thought those guys did a really good job. There's a couple people I don't recognize their voices, so I'm not sure because you don't always hear who it is. There was a female reporter. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, no, but you got the order correct. I just wanted your general thought. Look, Pat Leonard historically has been kind of a trolling dick. I think a lot of these reporters are not fans of the New York Giants, which is okay. Like Mike Garafolo. Mike Garafolo was an Eagles fan, but he covered the Giants great. I think Pat's an Eagles fan, but I'm not sure about that. But
that's kind of the Brad Marchand of reporters.
But he showed that he can do it if he wants to do it. So, Pat, if you're out there, kudos. And it's not. I don't think you were badgering. I mean, people have gotten so. The press in this country ceased being the press a long time ago. But this is how the press used to operate. And you don't have to be a dick, but you ask pointed questions, and when they don't answer your question, you follow up with, you didn't really answer my question.
Right.
And that's what he did. And he wasn't rude about it. And it was great. And I've got a clip of that when we'll set it up whenever you want to play it. But I thought that was the highlight of the press conference. It's a little long. It's 3 minutes. But I think it was the heart of the press conference. And it was the part where Joe Schoen was the most uncomfortable. And rightfully so. And the more he spoke, the worse it got for him.
I say since we're on it.
You want me to play it real quick?
Let's run with it.
Okay.
As your part in 5 wins in the last 30 games? Because you said it starts with me.
Yeah.
But what specifically do you think you have failed on, and how is it translating in losses on the field? Where you say, is it drafting? Is it free agency? How do you view it? How do you?
It's 5 wins the last 2 years, Pat. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Like you can go through. I'm not going to make excuses. It's not good enough. I don't want to go through individually. Different scenarios. There's context to a lot of things, but it's 5 wins. It's not good enough, and we've got to get better.
Would you agree it's fair to talk about the details a little bit, though, because like several coaches have lost their jobs now because they weren't good enough. So what is your part specifically?
Yeah, it's 5 wins, Pat, and it's not good enough. I understand your question, and I'm also a realist. I understand. It's what have you done for me lately? I've been in the league for 26 years, and it's not good enough. And we're going to look at the entire football operation, everything from free agency decisions, draft decisions, coaching, execution. What can we do better? What can we do better? Because there are pieces here. Why aren't we maximizing what we have? And that's what we're going to, that's going to be our mission this offseason to figure that out.
When you say, why are we not maximizing what we have? I think some people would say you don't have enough. So I'm asking,
and that's fine.
Where have you erred in that as far as composing the roster, building the roster, keeping draft picks on the roster who have not contributed, who don't look like they're going to contribute into the future, and who create depth issues on the roster that seem to become glaring issues when these games are on the line?
Well, I'll just say this, Pat. Like, nobody's perfect, and the chances of me batting 1,000 are gone because I've made mistakes. Okay, everybody's going to make mistakes, and we're going to get some things right. As long as you're learning from those mistakes and you reflect on the process in place and where you went wrong, and you can continue to get better, that's what's most important. And I'm better today than I was 4 years ago when I get this job. And a year from now, God willing, I'm standing here, I'm going to be better than I am today. And that's all I can do. That's all I can do. That's all my staff can do. We continue to evaluate the process where there's some things we did where we missed in our process or we strayed from what we believe in. There's a chance that happened. Okay, lesson learned. Don't make it again. But again, as you go through it, there have been a lot of decisions that have went right. Okay, so what can we learn from that? As long as we're learning and continuing to get better and don't make the same mistakes twice, then that's progress. And that's what we're going to continue to focus on, our process, to get this organization back where it belongs. Again, it's the gold standard. It's still the New York Giants and the greatest city in the world. Flagship franchise, great ownership, young quarterback. Like, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the guys who are here. Have I screwed up? Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. But I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. And we're going to continue to get better. And we're going to look at everything. Coaching, coordinators, strength. Every single thing, every part of the organization. And we're going to do everything we can to get this thing going in the right direction.
So my problem with that was the more he kind of started off okay. Again, what are you going to say to that? It's a great question. He doesn't have a good response because there is no good response. But the more he talked, the deeper the grave he dug. And what I got out of it was, I'm 4 years into this and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm going to try to stop making these mistakes. So, yeah, that's it. So it's like you're 4 years into this. How many chances do you think you're going to get?
I like how he says 5 wins just isn't going to cut it. Well, let's back that up because, you're only counting the last 2 years. If we go back one more year, we're only talking 11 wins, and we're talking what? They played.
Oh, you're doubling them then.
Yeah, 11 wins in 47 games versus the 5 that you've done in 30. Yeah. So, come on. That's not a positive. The year before that's not a positive. So let's not even look to that as you're like, well, it's just the last 2 years. It's not the last 2 years. And you haven't made the same mistakes twice. I don't think you understand what that actually means. It literally means the exact same mistake, not just this period of time. I won't do this entire thing all over again a second time. The other part was weird, and I can't.
Wait, can I time out you in a second?
Please, yeah, no, go for it.
I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. How many kickers have we fucked up with? We're on like 4th, 5th like mistake. And just the kickers alone.
Well, he did say twice. He said he wouldn't do it twice. 3, 4, 5 times is not off the table.
We had a kicker who kicked the ground.
Oh, dear God. I have had so many people send me that clip because they know I'm a Giants. I'm like, I watched the goddamn game. I don't need to see it again. Young Ho Koo did not kick it that night. I swear to God.
What do you mean you're not going to make the same mistake twice?
Pat,
I got a lot of problems with you people. Happy
What's y'all? All I can think of is the movie Office Space. They're interviewing, right? They're talking to the guy. He's like, I work with, I'm good with the people. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah. I'm in customer service. Yeah.
I'm good with the goddamn people.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Two.
The part that I thought was interesting is Pat, and he doesn't say specifically names, but you don't need the names. You know what he's talking about. Evan Neal, Jalen Hyatt, talking about carrying guys. Deonte Banks is his effort on the field. You're carrying these guys. It doesn't seem like you have any sort of repercussions or expectations. So what have you? And every question he danced around it, and then he would say, I made mistakes. Who hasn't? Nobody's perfect. And I'm going to get better. And I'm thinking, what part though are you going to get better? You have yet to actually admit what was the one thing that you think you need to be better at. If he actually picked just one, I think he could have cut them off at the legs and say, listen, here's the deal. I look at it now, and I kind of wish that we had, after 22, I wish that we had stuck to the plan, because I do think that's the one thing he hinted at when they said they deviated from their process. I do think after 22 is where that went wrong, and they kind of their heads got big, and they thought we're further along than we thought. But he doesn't pick anything, and by saying you made mistakes, but you don't pick one, you open the door to be peppered for all of them, all the things that everybody thinks that you do wrong. And then he just doubled down, and then it just became nervous and uncomfortable. And you could hear the difference. His canned, I understand the question, and I'm dancing around it, no longer was working.
They edited out the end of the press conference, by the way. I don't know if you noticed while he left the stage. It's gone. So he kind of abruptly left the stage at the end of the press conference. And I look for it, it's gone. So maybe somebody else has it, but they edited that out. Look, this is kind of what I said earlier, and I said this like a month ago, as the losses pile up. Remember, you and I were talking about the status of Shane like a month ago. And you were a little bit more, again, I'm not throwing you under the bus. You were a little bit more on, he's probably returning. And I said, if these losses keep piling up, the fan base is going to be where we are right now. And that's kind of what's happened. So, and the same thing with Kafka. Notice this. So people were feeling pretty good about Kafka even after the 2 losses, because they were close against teams that we were supposed to get smoked by.
Right.
But that went out the window on Monday night. Now everybody's like, and it's the same thing I said there. I said, if this team starts getting smoked and doesn't win, and Kafka doesn't win, you talked about that last time, our last show. If he doesn't win some of these last games, you can't keep him either. Now, that's right or wrong. Now, I think he's in a bad position. I'm not defending Kafka. Kafka again, they handed over the Titanic to these guys while it was sinking. And there's not much you can do after you've hit the iceberg and you're taking on water. And I'm not defending Kafka, but Kafka was screwed. Charlie Bolin is screwed. And these guys are going to lose their jobs because, except we have Ian Connor out there saying, if they win a game or two, like the Raiders game, maybe he survives. So, and that was, and before people say bullshit, that's never going to happen. I was convinced Brian Dable was gone last year up until the Colts game. I thought his body language, the way that he was acting, the way the team was acting, the way the reporters were reporting, and something changed after that game. And then all of a sudden he's back. So that's my only fear. So to play conspiracy theory, I'm going to interject what I actually believe happened. Right. We thought for a long time the two were tied together, right? Last year. Then all of a sudden there was the part where Shane basically was told he was coming back. Right.
Shane and Mara and whoever else was involved then met with Daboll. I suspect, based on the way this press conference just happened, some things that were said, that Shane's the one who went to bat to keep Daboll in place. Daboll, of course, keeps Shane Bowen, more than likely because he couldn't find anybody else anyway, because nobody wants to work with him, especially in a lame duck situation. So they stuck. But I think Shane convinced with Daboll to keep Daboll. Because notice how he's very clear. Ownership fired Daboll.
Yeah.
He said that multiple times.
Yes. He said it twice.
And
he made it clear that he didn't fire Daboll. Mara fired Daboll.
And this is where the media dropped the ball. My question would have been, would you have fired Brian Daboll if it was your choice? Would you have fired Brian Daboll?
He wouldn't have answered that question. He would have
understood
the question.
I understand the question.
Understand the question.
I understand the question, John. And it's sunny outside.
Weather outside.
It's the greatest city in the world. We got a young quarterback. Let me tell you about our offense.
Made some mistakes. Look, the thing that he made a mistake on in this press conference too is when he threw himself under the bus. He said, "We're like 14th in offense now. We're 30th in defense, and we were 30th in defense last year. And then, but we got Abdul Carter, we got Javon Holland, we got Paulson Adebo, we got Golston. He mentioned Golston. He mentioned all the. He mentioned
just name everybody.
He mentioned everyone, the defensive lineman. He mentioned, and he was like, "We're still 30. We're still 30th."
So that's not good.
Yeah, I think what he was trying to say
is he tried to
said was we didn't coach them to be. I got you the groceries. You're a bad cook, but what he did is he made it sound like he was a bad shopper. Is what he made it sound like. So
yeah, I mean, really, to use your analogy, if it in a restaurant term, you went and got all these awesome ingredients, but you forgot that you're running like a regular old-fashioned diner. You've got all this stuff. It doesn't go together. You're like, I don't know, just throw it out there. Just throw it out there.
But did he get awesome ingredients?
See, that's the other part. The other part where he killed himself, and it goes back to Hard Knocks, right? Is, listen, I understand your question. You can't sign the safety, then you don't have the offensive lineman. You can't sign this guy, then you don't have the pass rusher. I'm like, but you did sign a safety. You just spent a shit ton of money on a safety for another team.
But he would say that was the previous year, or we couldn't do both that previous.
Yeah,
but he could be right, but it looks
bad.
It's like, again, your grocery thing. They threw it all together. Whatever they got, it's not working. It came out like crap. It's like, oh, this is awful. So the restaurant you just went to, the food sucks. So
right. Yeah, but the ingredients were great. Did you see our kitchen? It looks awesome.
Great.
It looks awesome.
So look, big picture is I've got a bunch of people on X convinced that Joe Schoen is gone.
I agree.
I'm not there yet because I don't trust ownership. I think Schoen has done enough to lose his job because, as Pat Leonard correctly pointed out, how can everybody else lose their job and you don't lose your job? It's a bottom line business. And there are people out there that are correct. Everyone wants their pound of flesh. Just keep firing people because you want to feel, you want that, you want to vent, you want to get rid of these people. And there is a risk in that. But the bottom line is Joe Schoen, as you've pointed out, take away 2022, the first half of 2022, this team's record in the last 3.5 years is terrible. And as Sai pointed out in his game review, it's really not that good if you even include going back to the beginning of this century. And we're 50 games under. What did he say? Since 2000?
We're 50 under 500. I did try to do the math, and I didn't come up with 50 under, but that's okay.
Okay, but
it's close.
The point exists if you take out the two, which is a big if. But I'm not minimizing the 2 Super Bowls. Those were magical, and anyone who wants to take away those things and say they were lucky or whatever, bullshit. The Giants beat the best teams in the NFL multiple times in those games, and they earn that. However, if you take those away, this team isn't one of those teams that goes the back-to-back playoff games. I mean, playoff seasons. This isn't a team that has won multiple division titles. If you look at the number of division titles we've won, even since the Parcells years, it's not good.
Yeah.
We got in some wild card games and stuff like that, but this has not been a like
dominant
sort of
team in and out.
in and out. Yeah. So and this last stretch of 14 years is just awful. And people can point to 2016 and 2022, but that's, I mean, I look back at 2022 now and I look at it as a disaster because of what it led to. So and then the 2016, the whole boat thing fiasco ruined that for me. So I don't even look back at those 2 seasons as like with any degree of fondness. It's been 2011's a long time ago now. So
yeah, it's it's hard when you look at and you try to figure out where. And I know, look, I get it. I know a lot of people want to just pin very specifically. It's John Mara's problem. It's Chris Mara's problem. It's Tim McDonald's problem. They're the reasons that blah, blah, blah. That may or may not be true, right? And I'm sure there's degrees of truth to it. But at the same time, they have done things that we as fans have wanted them to do, and it's failed. And there are things they should have done that they didn't do because of fans. And I think Saquon Barkley was the biggest one. They should have traded him when they had the opportunity, knowing that they probably weren't going to be able to sign him long-term, knowing they were trying to rebuild the team. And he was an asset that if you were going to play old school, the way the Patriots used to do before Belichick lost his mind, but when Belichick used to do stuff, look back to when, I'm trying to remember the season, it might have been 2001, could have been 3, right as the season started, he cut Lawyer Malloy. Their starting safety, cut him. The Patriots, by the way, lost that first game 31-0. They go on and win the Super Bowl that year. Sometimes you have to make decisions that are best for the team long-term, and you just forget what the fans want. I think John Mara stepped in 2017. He was part of being okay with Eli sitting until it got out that Eli, A, didn't want to sit at halftime and said, forget it, I'll sit for the whole game. Fans went ape shit over that because it was Geno Smith. And John Mara comes out immediately afterwards, says, that's a huge mistake. You had to have known what was happening, by the way. You were not involved. You fire the coach, you fire the GM. Eli is back as a starter, and now you stretch that period out longer. Jump ahead, 2017 draft. The coach that is now gone was banging the table to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. The Giants stand pat and take Evan Ingram. If anything tells you where you're at in terms of what your effed up thinking process is, we'll keep an aging Eli Manning, but we're going to get him a souped up wide receiver who's going to play tight end, who sometimes can catch, but he runs real fast. And we're going to put him out there with a team that is declining in the offensive line, declining on defense, and your quarterback is old.
Right.
This is the things that they keep doing seems to try to appease the fans in a way that it's almost like it's 2 years too late, and they try to go, we're going to do
it's reactive. They're reactive, and they
but
react.
It's delayed reaction though. It's too late. It's too late with what they're doing versus when you should have done it. So my fear now is, who are they going to listen to? Everybody wants Joe Schoen fired, and I'm okay with that. I'm on board with that. Fire Joe Schoen because he's bad at his job. You can't fire the coach with basically with the number of wins, 20 wins, I believe, 20, 43 and 1. Right. You have the same number of wins. You have even more losses because you've been around longer. You brought him in. You've gone through multiple defensive coordinators. The way you went through the coordinator thing with Wink Martindale, I'm on board with that. Wink needed to go. But how you did it was petty, childish, and babyish. You wanted to send a message, and you did. But it was a backwards, dumbass message. And so now he's got to go. But where do you go from here? And if they just build it in their mind that A, it either has to be somebody that's connected to the Giants of the past, or B, it has to be an old coach who's done this before, then you're not really looking at the full picture. Get the person that's going to come in. They've got to right this ship. And we'll do a much bigger show on this later. They got to right the ship, but it's got to be their way. Their players have to match what they do. Not you bring a coach in, then we go get all these players and we say, here, you make, like toss salad out of this pile of shit I just gave you. No, get them the players that they want, that fits their system.
They've got a whole bunch of problems going on. The owner has cancer. And the longer that we don't hear anything about that, the more I'm starting to wonder if that cancer is more significant. Cancer is always significant, unless
but bigger. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, even skin cancer can be serious. But the longer that we don't hear anything, I wonder about what's going on there. If that's serious, are other people picking up the ball and taking care of this situation, or is John still trying to do this while he's sick? In a normal multi-billion-dollar corporation thing, in a similar situation, somebody would step in and replace the sick owner. I don't know if that's going on. We don't know what's happening. I wish some reporters would start asking questions and trying to do some research and trying to investigative reporting to find out what's going on, because it's going to cloud this whole picture. So if he's really sick and he doesn't want to deal with this, do they just bring people back just because they don't want to deal with the hassle of doing this search? That would be a disaster. Beyond all that, and I'm sure we're going to get into it because it's a favorite topic right now, they've got some disciplinary morale
let's talk about that.
brewing that are going to keep festering if somebody doesn't come in here and rein this shit in. So Joe Schoen's making excuses for the players. Kafka's making excuses for the players.
Yep.
Now, maybe that's not happening behind the scenes. What did you and I talk about last time we were on? They suspended Abdul Carter for 2 series in the previous game. And you and I said, that's a slap on the wrist. That's not going to have the impact that you think it's going to have. And you and I are parents.
Sure.
We know that.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, look what happened. There looks like there were some extenuating circumstances, but again, he should have been on notice. I've got to put this in my phone that I've got to be at these meetings. And lo and behold, he does it again. But what do they do again? They suspend him for a couple of series instead of saying, you know what? We're suspending you for a game or two.
Right.
Or maybe,
don't dress them.
and you're going to lose that paycheck. And you're going to lose that paycheck because you're in violation of your contract. And so these half-assed measures are, and again, the players are checking out. Look, we should probably talk about the Patriots game at some point too. Part of the thing is the Patriots game, the Buffalo Bills. Who did they just play? The New England. I'm sorry, Patriots. Yeah, New England game. New England has something to play for. These teams the Giants are playing now have something to play for. That's why the 2 previous games were somewhat impressive, that they stayed in it and they were ahead and they had a chance to win. But at some point, this was going to catch up to them. The Giants are out of it. They have nothing to play for. They've got serious issues on the roster, talent issues on the roster, and they played a team that had way more to play for and look like it and just beat the shit out of them. And I have a feeling this is the beginning of another. We're going to see another couple of these games now because the other teams have something to play. Dallas has something to play for. The Raiders may not. Jaden Daniels is now coming back. He's going to have something to play for, even though the Commanders are out of it. So we'll see. I mean, this could get ugly again. So.
Well, what's worse is that word came out a couple of days later that Abdul Carter's been fined. Brian Daboll fined him multiple times for being late to different things.
I saw that, but I don't know if that's a legitimate Twitter account.
I saw it by a couple other reporters. I saw Albert Breer put it out.
Well, I saw the person referenced Albert Breer, but I couldn't find the Albert Breer.
Oh, I saw the Albert Breer one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense, right? You don't suspend somebody necessarily for a couple of things,
right? Play
wise, a couple of series. If it was the first time, you probably find them behind the scenes, especially when you have to have them out in the field, right? You were already down Kayvon Thibodeau. You're probably going to find them. The fact that you sat him and then you did it again, what was weird is how it managed to not get reported until the day of the game. There's actually over the weekend, someone hinted at it, but it was from a site that's usually pretty bad, so I don't bother.
Yeah.
But then they were like, then when Tom and Fox was being brought up, they were like, nah, if he comes up, that's generally a bad sign. The Carter thing bugs me. And so real quick, I'm going to switch to Hard Knocks. I thought Hard Knocks was very telling, and I think people totally missed it. 2 things that stood out to me was Kafka was in the defensive meeting. Now, I understand he's the head coach now, but I don't think Brian Daboll sits in on the defensive meetings the way this was. But they zoomed in on Kafka. Where was he looking? To the right. He's sitting over on the left. He's looking over to the right. Bullen is up front talking. Why is Kafka looking to the right? Abdul Carter's over on the right side. He's looking over on the other side of the thing. And what they were talking about was very specific. Bullen said, and quote me per se, I'm not going to say it word for word, but what he said was, you are playing, we're out of it, but you're playing for your jobs. You're playing for when you sit down with the GM and the decision makers.
Right.
That's clearly a sign that they already are like, guys, we can't have you checking out, right? You don't want to check out. This is why.
That always happens though when the regime collapses. It happens no matter what they say, they do. That's where we're at right now.
So they're not even like talking like we're trying to, hey, listen, this staff and Kafka's trying to be the head. They're literally telling you you're going to be sitting down with the GM and the decision makers. And that's when they zoomed in on Kafka, and he's looking over where Carter is on the other side. Now, again,
we don't know how that was edited too. That's
but I mean, either way, it was at that time, and he's not looking forward. He's looking to the side. The way Kafka's sitting back there and he's like looking around and keep track. I mean, they obviously think there's a problem within that organization that they're keeping in. They think guys are checking out. Now, the reason I bring that up is Jordan Renan dropped in one of his podcasts that this has been going on since last year, and that a player on the team, he didn't say who, he said the player unsolicited came to him and said, hey, listen, we got an attitude problem here that if we lose and things are losing, it's going to be a real problem. And it was specifically about Malik Neighbors and how Neighbors would leave the hotel when he felt like it. He would kind of come and go so he'd be late, and there were no repercussions for him. And that was going to come. And that really, to me, plays into the whole Brian Daboll country club buddy. When you start calling, and he lost everything starting last year, but it was magnified this year. Last year when Hard Knocks came up and you're calling, Neighbors is a dog. He's a fucking dog. All that stuff. You sound like a frat boy, first off, right. But you were buddying up with rookies, and now you're you're setting them up here. You're setting these guys up like they are the answer to your prayers. They are above everything. Jaxson Dart became the messiah to Daboll when he came in. He's like, oh my God, you're gonna lead us to the promised land. You are the guy. Why you dove into the medical tent? Why you just seem like, I love you, man, on the night of the draft. Ridiculous behavior by a guy. And that's the kind of stuff. And now Abdul Carter's attitude, it all seems to tie into, they came into a situation that said, you guys, we need you. We love you. You're it. And when desperate people do desperate things, when you lay down like that, you can't get that back. You can never, the old saying is like, I can start here and I can come down, but if I start low, I can never go up, especially in sales price-wise. I can't start low and bring the price up. It's never going to work that way. That's what they did. Expectation was here. Now, all of a sudden, when these guys are like, oh, free reign, and they're bringing it down, you're like, shit, I'm trying to bring it up. You can't. And they lost it. And I think Shane's got to be responsible for that too. That's a huge problem.
Vrabel's looking pretty good, isn't he?
Do you think he would have come here? Do you think
he probably would have gone to New England anyway? Okay. He probably would have gone to New England. But the thing is I look at that and he runs a tight ship. Okay. They're not gonna screw around with him. There's a much bigger problem here, and I don't know how to address this. NIL is a problem.
Sure.
The kids that are coming out of college now are more pampered than ever, and they don't need this. And so Malik Neighbors and Abdul Carter are the new generation of guys. And if they come into a situation that's a country club, that's a losing team, and it's falling apart, how do you reel that back in? Can you reel that back in? I'm hoping they can bring somebody in here that can reel that back in, but will today's modern athlete accept a Tom Coughlin type coach that cracks the whip? I mean, he was having problems with players. Tom Coughlin was when this was starting to change, and now it's way different now. So I'm hoping somebody can come in here and walk that tightrope where it puts the fear of God in them, but isn't so overbearing that they won't listen to him either because he's too much of a dictator. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're...
I mean, the obvious answer, I mean, everyone's knee-jerk reaction right now is going to be, we need to get a disciplinarian coach in here to crack the whip and end this shit. And that's where I am right now. But again, we're living in the NIL environment now too. And I guess what I'm asking is, can you reel in Malik Neighbors? Can you reel in Abdul Carter? Can you reel in Cam Scadaboo? Not that Cam Scadaboo's been a problem, but can you reel in? I don't worry about people like Dart. I think there's some people that I think want tough coaching, and I think Dart's probably in that category. Maybe Scadaboo too. But you got to have players that are going to want to be coached tough.
The thing with Neighbors too, and let's we only know the little bit that we know.
Yeah.
But we were questioning it. You and I were questioning it last year, how it seemed always weird that he'd practice and then suddenly on Friday he would not be practicing. He would have it was almost like he got Friday off.
And Parcells would never have done that.
Oh, hell no.
Never would have
done
that.
And I know it's a different day and age, and get off my lawn. I get it. We're boomers and all that good shit. But I do think that somebody like Neighbors, the problem is when you give the leash the way that it is, and you're losing, by the way.
That's what I mean. The losing accelerates it.
I think winning changes everything. Success breeds success, but I also think it breeds the mentality, the wanting to be successful. One of the biggest problems that the Giants have right now is that some of your better players, and I'm going to say this, it's going to sound bad the way I say it. I don't mean it about them personally. I just mean it about their play, their time in the league. Some of your best players are losers. They've only known that to lose. Yeah. They have not won. Dexter Lawrence hasn't won anything. It's hard.
Andrew Thomas is play exceptional right now because it's not. He's playing some of his best football right now, and he has been around as much losing as anybody.
But even if you're a good player and you don't, even if your play doesn't go down, my point is, if I'm a young guy coming in, right, and I'm getting paid a lot, by the way, when I walk in the door. I'm getting paid more than you were when you walked in the door, and I'm walking in like I'm king shit, and you're treating me like I'm king shit. You're treating me like I am the one who's going to lead you, even though that's the guy that's been doing it year in and year out. But guess what? He's been doing it year in and year out, and you've lost every time. You've been a bad team the whole time. So I'm your savior. I'm not listening to that guy. However, you bring a coach in who either is associated with a winning organization or he himself has been a winner, depending on which way you go. And he brings in a staff of winners. And by the way, these staffs need to have at least a few guys who used to play in the league. I'm not about that the head coach has to be a former player, but you need guys on that coaching staff who used to play. There's guys that need to come through and say, listen, I know this shit. I've done it with you. This is what we got to do. I don't care that you don't like what the head coach is saying. I'm telling you from a position thing, this is what we got to do. You need those guys. Right. You need a few. Every good team has a few of those guys.
And add to what you just said, everyone's been talking about Carmen Barcillo, but very few people have been talking about the fact that the Giants added Ferentz as the assistant coach. Right. And he's an ex-player who he was a self-made player at center for a long time in this season. And that's exactly what you're talking about, John, is having somebody who has a track record in this league.
Exactly. So, no, you're fine. And that's what they've got to look at. And that's how you start to rein it in. Then you're going to need some of your players. And you know what? This is going to sound harsh. And I've been on this side of the fence before about this person. So I'm okay. Chat, if you're 100% against what I'm about to say, that's fine. I get it. And I'm not going to be
Dexter again, aren't you?
Absolutely. The Giants need to move on from Dexter Lawrence. And it's not a bad thing against Dexter, but if you want to send a message to the organization that we're not accepting the way things are going anymore, and we want to build where we're going, you move on from that guy. But you got to bring a couple of veteran guys that are full-on leaders. I don't care if if you get a couple and you bring in one guy like a Calais Campbell guy who comes in, he's just there to be like, this is what you're going to do. This is how we do it. Because at this point, what are you worried about losing? You're a losing organization. You've literally gone 9-6-3. We're currently at 2.
Right.
Even if you go to 4 or 5, and dear God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Don't fucking win another game this season. Please don't win another game this season. But even if you win a couple, they're joke wins. They're joke wins. It means nothing as far as the way this season has gone. You've got to change the culture. It starts with the GM head coach combo, but the head coach for sure. You got to change some of those players out. You can't have losing players, constantly losing players be your leaders. It's never going to work. The guys are not going to buy in on it.
Well, when they were doing Hard Knocks and you're talking about the scene that you were talking about, my takeaway wasn't what you saw from that scene. It was people like Dexter Lawrence sitting in that meeting in their mind were probably thinking Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and people of that stature were thinking, I don't have to justify myself to the GM. I'm not going anywhere. I make more money and you guys can't get rid of me if you want to get rid of me. And that's what I was thinking about. Like that probably resonated with maybe 80% of the people in the room, but there were people in that room that were like, I'm untouchable. You can't touch me. And I'm not saying they can't touch Dexter. I'm just saying that's probably what the way Dexter was.
Oh, thinking. Sure. And again, to be clear, because I saw it just in chat, I'm not saying it's based on his play per se, but you're not losing anything. We're a bad defense even with him. What difference does it make?
I'll tell you what, Dexter would want to get out of here.
I think so too.
Everybody everybody wants to get off this team. I hate to say this. Look,
Brian Burns, I don't believe that about Brian Burns.
I said I am a Giants fan through and through. It pains me to no end to say this, but players like Jordan Riley, who just left for the Packers, have got to be like, Elijah Garcia and little Jordan Humphrey. They got to be like, thank you.
What about Corey Durden, who played a monster game against the Giants?
I had to look up that name because the Vrabel was talking about him after the game, and I'm like, the name sounds familiar, and I'm like, wait a minute, he was here for like a second.
He had a couple of solid plays when we live streamed the Bills preseason game. He had a couple of solid plays in that game. You know, the funny thing is, do you remember last year when Dexter got hurt and all of a sudden they're playing all these backups? Garcia was playing and those guys, and we were like, Jesus, their run defense is actually better now than it was before. Sometimes it's about these guys who they're not going to get to the passer and they're not going to. But you do need a mix. You need toughness. The one thing that was very evident Monday night is there is a level of toughness that the Patriots have that the Giants absolutely do not have. You could call some of it dirty, and I agree. The headhunting on Gunner was pretty freaking bad, and I don't know how you don't call that a penalty.
It was a penalty.
But, and I mean, they rubbed the freaking logo off the side of his helmet, but they were physically tough. Our team is not physically tough. We're a bunch of pansies out there.
We haven't been physically tough. We haven't been physically tough since Tom Coughlin was here. We haven't been physically tough.
Agreed.
And do you remember the old Lawrence Taylor clips against the New York Jets in the preseason?
You better hope I never get back in there. Yeah. I'm going to kick your effing ass.
Do you know what that's from? I mean, what NFL Films production that's from? Most people don't know what that's from. You will never get it, John, unless you're crazy.
Was it about like the most ferocious hitters or something like
that? It was. So there was a awesome NFL Films production. You can still find it out on YouTube, even though the quality sucks. There are two copies of it on YouTube. One is a little bit better than the other in terms of the quality, but they both suck. It's called Crunch Course.
There we go.
It was done in 1985. It's awesome. And the last segment is on Lawrence Taylor, and it was him against the Jet. But the whole video was great. It's about, and I got a couple of clips from that in the beginning of this. Wait a minute.
Teams that know what they're doing and two teams that have great athletes on both sides, then usually the game is decided by the team that hits the hardest.
You lose the battle of the hitting. I'm not sure you're going to win the other battle either.
Tell you what you better do. I can watch you. You're walking around out there with your finger up your and you ain't hitting the damn soul. The name of the game, man, is hit.
So, and I firmly believe that. And again, I'm a product of my generation.
Sure.
There are certain things I believe. You play good defense, you run the ball, you stop the run. That goes back. That's old school football. But I also believe the team that's more physical is usually going to win. Now, people will all point to turnovers, and they're right. Turnovers were a huge thing, but let's take turnovers aside, because turnovers are kind of fluky. You know, they either happen or they don't happen. But the team that's more physical usually wins the game. And we saw that. You and I saw that firsthand in 1990. We were supposed to get smoked by the San Francisco 49ers. They were supposed to get smoked by the Buffalo Bills. And the 49ers were a physical football team in that NFC Championship game, but the Giants were more physical. And then the Bills were not prepared for the Giants' physicality in the Super Bowl. And the Giants were not the better team. Those other two teams were better teams, but the Giants were more physical. And if you beat the crap, I will take personal foul penalties like the Bills, like the Patriots did. And again, when they happen to you, you get pissed off and you're like, screw you, that hit on Gunner's bullshit. But if you're on the other side of that and your player does that to somebody else, you might say, you know, I don't want to be that guy. That sets a message. When they hit Dart on the sideline, that sent a message. And those types of teams usually come out on top because the other team starts to wilt. Even though our offensive line is playing better right now, I get that. But the Bills or the Patriots were the more physical football team in that game, and it showed. And that toughness, that physicality has been missing from the Giants for now a decade and a half. And until that's why we need to get like a Vrabel type coach in here that says, you know what, we're going to get back to the basics and we're going to be physical. This is the NFC East. We play in the Northeast. We're going to run the ball. We're going to stop the run, and we're going to be tougher and more physical. And if you don't play that style of football, you're off this team. I don't care if your name's Abdul Carter or Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, or whoever, or Javon Holland, Tyler Nubin. I don't care. If you can't play that kind of football, you're out of here. We'll trade you. We'll get draft picks. I'd rather have free agents, undrafted free agents that play that style of football, and we'll just build from there. And Bill Parcells had to learn that lesson. He had a drug problem in '83, and he had his team
had a drug problem.
His team had his team had a drug problem, and his team wasn't filled with the kind of guys that he wanted. And he cleaned house between '83. He said, "If I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose with my guys." And he brought in guys that weren't the best athletes, and they, you know what? But they started to beat up on teams. And people will say, Eric, it's not 1984 anymore. I still think this game comes down to toughness. It's a physical football game, a sport, and you've got to be that kind of guy. And that's the kind of thing that I still miss. I watched the Patriots, and I was kind of envious of that. They were knocking the shit out of people. And when Vrabel was in Tennessee, I talked about this a couple of times on here. Yep. We went into Baltimore, a physical football team. They knocked the crap out of them, and that they weren't better than the Ravens in that game. The Ravens didn't want anything to do with them by the end of that game.
And there's a huge difference between being. Someone said in here, penalties are basically you being undisciplined. I agree with that, but there will be penalties from time to time, like you're talking about, by being physical. Sometimes that happens, and there's a difference between being physical and being dirty. I don't want guys who come in and they cheap shot the quarterback, 3 steps after he's already thrown it and then he drill him. That's pansy football. I don't want that. I want one when they blasted Dart on the sidelines. You had Johnson immediately came to his defense. John Michael Schmitz sort of did, but it almost looked like he was hugging the guy, getting him off the sidelines. I mean, I kept thinking if this was Brandon Jacobs, I saw what Brandon Jacobs did to the kicker of Philadelphia, who kind of threw a little cheap shot, and Jacobs picked him up and threw him on the ground. We don't have that. The Giants defense, when they played the San Francisco 49ers in 1990, Jim Burt low-blowed Jeff Hostetler in the knee.
Right.
The Giants made a point that said we were going to come after Montana. You listen to Leonard Marshall. He tells that story. We were going to come after and hit you. You're going to cheap shot our quarterback. We're coming after you. And there was none of that. We didn't blast May. In fact, he got around Abdul Carter to the outside. And I'm thinking, for as quick as Carter is off the edge, he is not fast to turn around and redirect. Quarterbacks run away from him. Caleb Williams did it. May did it. I'm like, God damn it. We never at any point, if this was a boxing match, we took a couple of massive haymakers, and the rest of the game, the rest of the match, we kept trying to jab our way back into the fight. It's not happening. You got blasted, and you did not respond in a physical nature. This team, and again, is some of it because they've already mentally checked out? That's possible. But I don't know that they would have done that earlier in the season either. I don't know who the tough leader is of this team.
I will sort of defend him here. I was proud of the response to coming to the defense of Jaxson Dart. I understand what you're saying. You're talking about what they do later in the game. I mean,
sure.
I think back to, do you remember the game where Buddy Ryan put the bounty on Lawrence Taylor, and they did
absolutely.
They did the cheap shot. It was like illegal crackback or something, but they blindsided him. And what did the Giants do? They knocked was it Cunningham out of the game or Jaworski? I forget.
No, Jaworski was the quarterback. So so LT came around and they basically nailed him without.
And then the Giants went after Jaworski.
Well, it was LT on the next play.
Yeah. And Marshall too. Wasn't it Marshall too?
LT got him twice in the span of like 4 different plays, because LT got a penalty for one of them, so he was able to do it again a couple of plays later. But you're right. That's exactly, and they don't do that now.
And I know people in chat aren't going to like to hear this, but I grew up when the Oakland Raiders were the Oakland Raiders, and they played dirty. They were a dirty team, but they won all the time. And again, part of this is sometimes I don't mind if you get a penalty, if you're basically taking the other team out of the game.
Take their will to play.
Take the will.
We
take their will out of the game. So it's a dirty business. This is a physical sport. And I'm not trying to say we should be like breaking people's legs and stuff like that. But if you lose,
don't be dirty.
It's like Raymond Berry said, if you lose the battle of hitting, you're probably going to lose the other battle too.
Well, the other thing that you mentioned, the turnover part of it, right? Teams that tend to lead in turnovers usually are a more physical team, because you start to wear people down, right? And when you drill them a lot later on, those hits, it's harder to hold the ball. It's harder to keep your arm up when your shoulder wants to come down. And the Giants, if anything that I've noticed with them a lot, they are sort of like drag down tacklers. They're kind of like, they get there and they want to push guys out, or they just throw themselves. Dear God, poor Brian Burns had a sack all lined up, and goddamn Phillips takes him right out. I'm like, we can't even manage to like put together a double team sack. You take out your own guy. It's just very poor. It's very, very poor physical play. And some of it goes to the supposed summer camp things that Dayball's training camps have been like. And again, football's changed. We know that they don't practice the way they used to, but that doesn't explain why some teams are very physical and this team is not.
Yeah. There are two things I want to throw out there before I forget. One is, I do kind of agree with a lot of people on the website who say we shouldn't overanalyze anybody on this team until we get some solid coaching on them. So again, I want to see Neighbors of Abdul Carter, all these players under a real coach who's got a little bit of a bite to him, and try to rein these guys in. If they won't play, then they're fair game to ship them out of here. But some of this, I want to be a little bit careful with. Now, if somebody comes to us and offers the moon for somebody, I would certainly listen. Can't do it now. It'd have to be once the off season starts. But again, I think there are some talented players here, not to defend Joe Schoen, but there are some talented players here, and I would like to see them. And again, we have been in most of the games that we've played in. That's why Monday was such a shock to so many people. We finally got our asses just obliterated. It was reminiscent of the previous years. And that's why I think Kafka's in trouble right now. If that happens again, I think he's gone. Definitely. I think he's gone anyway.
I think he's gone.
I think he's gone anyways. But John, if he wins his last 4 games, and John Mara's got cancer, who the hell knows? All right. The other thing is this, because I keep forgetting to bring it up. You mentioned Hard Knocks. The only thing in the Hard Knocks that caught my eye, besides Jaxson Dart not knowing geography.
He looked like that. He looked like that chick from South Carolina. He's like that chick from South Carolina, like, because the people they don't have maps, so they don't know where things are. Like,
The thing that caught my eye, and again, you don't know how these things are edited. It's like that stupid scene. You and I keep bringing it up in the original Hard Knocks where Dable's like, look at Shane's run defense. I just brought it up on the phone. Maybe that's the way they did. Maybe that's the way they did pick him, John. Maybe we should have been giving them more.
Right. You're like, they edited. That was it actually happened. They recorded it as it went. Look what I got. Look.
They did the NFL version of Hinge. They swept.
he accidentally swiped the wrong way. He's like, oh shit. Well, we got a defensive coordinator.
It was the scene where Kafka was talking to Charlie Bullen on the practice field, and Bullen was basically saying, "I'm going to talk to them in the meeting room about this stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And it would seem very casual. And to me, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And maybe I'm just being too petty about this. I would have thought that Kafka would have brought in Bullen into his office, sat him down, and said, I want you to go into your first meeting, and I want you to talk about these things. I'm the boss. Again, it sounds like I'm micromanaging a little bit, but look, Kafka's on the hot seat here. And Bullen's never been a defensive coordinator at any level. It seemed to me they were kind of winging it on the, we're having a meeting, and just so you know, I'm just going to start off with some of this stuff. I would have liked Kafka to have taken charge of the situation, brought him into his office, and said, I want you to handle the meeting this way. And that clearly isn't what happened, unless, again, they orchestrated that for the cameras, and that was a camera thing.
But that's a weird thing to orchestrate for the
yes,
camera,
it is.
Right? It sounds stupid.
Yeah,
if you're going to arrange it, let me seem like I'm the guy.
I don't
No,
know
I'm with you.
To my comments are, but I when I watched that, it was kind of cringy to me.
There were two things that I didn't like about that particular thing. There was that one, and I agreed with you because I'm kind of like, wait, what? That's weird. Why isn't he telling you how I want this to go? I just made you, supposedly, the defensive coordinator over people who have had experience being coordinators before. I'm going to tell you, though, this is what I need to have happen. Now, remember, there is the scene, though, that Kafka's in that meeting, so he is observing, and I have a feeling that's all he's really there for. Not about him being the head coach. He's literally observing and passing it on to management. But the other part that kind of got me was the
well, it's also the principal being in the room for the students.
Right, exactly.
Remember those days when you were in high school and the principal came in and you
everybody sat up like
yeah. That's what it was too.
Shea Tyranny talking to Dart and basically told him on third downs, listen, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make some mistakes, but you're going to make some stuff happen. You're going to move around and you're going to make stuff happen. I'm thinking, see, is that all we're relying on, is the fact that our plays suck, but somehow Dart will move around and just make shit happen? Because that's going to get him killed. Like, that is literally going to get him killed. You can only dance around and run around so often before it makes me think of that scene in The Program. Mm-hmm. Remember they were the offensive lineman for one team.
An underrated movie. It's
I love that movie.
Bad movie, but it's an underrated movie. You know who likes that movie? John Schmelk. I brought that up with him.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
If you guys haven't seen The Program, it's cheesy, but watch it. It's probably the best football movie out there.
I love it. Yeah. It's fun. So Alvin, the linebacker, is like talking shit to the offensive lineman I believe they're playing Iowa at the time. And there's a play that goes one way and then it's coming back the other. So Alvin changes direction and he's coming back, and that offensive lineman is waiting for him and lines him up and just takes his legs out. And that's kind of what I feel like you're setting Dart up for one of these times. Somebody's going to get used to him running around and they're going to go, you know what? I'm going to wait over here because he's going to come back. And you're going to get them obliterated. Your plays need to be designed to work, not just go, here's a play, let's hope he can run around and make it work.
Yeah, Optimus, I just want to mention to you, it's not a good movie.
But it's fun. You'll love it.
So if you watch this and you go, what the hell are they talking? Look, it's a cheesy movie, but from a football, and my favorite play.
Come on, Cain is able.
Do you know who my favorite person in that movie is?
Latimer.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And you know what my favorite Latimer scene is in that movie?
Is it where he sticks his head through the window?
Yes! Yes! You got it. Yes.
Bam!
First team. Yes.
Yeah, a seat at the table. Yeah.
That's it, setting the table. That's right. All right. Now that we've done that, people are like, what the hell are they talking about?
You got to see that movie. Holy shit. I love that.
North Dallas 40 is good too.
Oh, that's true.
All right, where are we? We gotta get refocused here. All right, Giants.
Yeah.
Football.
It was fun though. The program is more fun to watch than the Giants play. I can tell you that.
Dart. I think Dart. I had to show my wife. I won't subject her to the Giants anymore, and my kids have started to. My daughter is such a football fan right now. If the Giants were good, she loves Cam Scadaboo. And she's so devastated that he's hurt. But if the Giants, and she watches them still, but boy, if they were good, she'd be like big time diehard into this. But I had to show my wife the 2 plays from Dart on the 2-point conversion. And then also that crazy thing where he's like half tackled and he's throwing to Theo Johnson.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, I didn't show her the other, and I had to show her the coup kick.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
that's what she said.
That's
what she said. She came in. She said, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" And she looked at the plays and she said, "They've got to get players around him, or they're going to ruin him." Yeah. And she knows she's not some huge, football junkie, but she's watched enough football over the years. She knows enough football, and she sees it. So that the thing is, people are noticing around the league. Jaxson Dart may end up flaming out, but he looks like he has it.
Right.
Shame on the Giants if they blow this, if they blow it with him, and they don't surround him with players to take advantage of this situation. If they wreck him. And I got to wonder what his parents are thinking right now, because his parents live and breathe. They love his son, and they live and breathe football, and they travel with him. And they were so happy that he went to the Giants. And you got to wonder if they're watching this now and going, it's like Jaxson Dart during what was your most memorable moment during the game of Jaxson Dart besides him getting hit?
It was the 2-point conversion.
No, I mean not play. Maybe like.
Oh, the sideline's going, oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's like, I mean, you're like, he's now going, oh, this is what we get. This is what happens. Like,
so like, I don't want him to lose his mojo. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
My God, what have I gotten myself into? And look, we've got a player now. Let's do something with it.
It was interesting. It was interesting to hear. And I know we'll keep it tight because tonight there's a big Thursday night game. Dallas-Detroit plays tonight. It'll be interesting. I got to give credit to the Cowboys. They've kind of turned their shit around.
Yeah.
Their trades on defense might be paying off. And you know what? Dak Prescott does not get enough credit for the quarterback.
He's having a marvelous year.
He's a really good quarterback.
Yeah. That was the only other thing about Hard Knocks I thought was interesting. What's his reaction to Jameis Winston?
You know what? Cool. I'm going to come on record too. I was so anti them signing Winston in the offseason. This was before they even signed, brought Wilson on. I was wrong. That dude is completely different than what he used to be. He's kind of like the emotional lifeblood of this team. Beyond Dart playing, like he's the guy. He's the guy who's kind of bringing and keeps people together. But he's making connections to other people. I was 100% wrong. 100% wrong on Jameis Winston. I am glad he's here. Glad he'll be the backup next year, assuming the new coach doesn't want something different. And I can't imagine why you would. I thought it was funny that Dallas is actually not just like Prescott's not just talking about getting a text, but the coach is like, "Did you see that play that Winston had? Take a look at this." That's pretty funny. Like that's really cool.
Don't underestimate the faith-based influence Jameis Winston's having on this team too. He leads the Bible study group.
Good point.
And I don't know if people caught the pregame stuff, but the Giants have a lot of very religious players on this team, and don't underestimate that as well too. So that has an impact on football teams. So unfortunately, the win-loss record isn't helping. So maybe they can pray a little louder to get that. Yeah, but look, they've got some players on this team. The question, John, is this, and as we wrap this up, do they get the right people in here to fix this mess? Are the people like Chris Mara and Tim McDonald now going to have to step up to the plate because John has cancer? And is that, in a way, is that going to be a better or worse thing for this team? Because we've all assumed all along that the more that those two are involved, the worse things get. That may be true, but maybe in this situation, it's not. It's not, because maybe if they're superseding John, maybe it'll work out for us. I'm trying to find some positive here.
The one thing you have to look at is their involvement has always only been with John's involvement, right? Like, so if John's not
John's final say, John makes the final say.
But that's what I mean, right? Yeah. Like, so it's almost like, you're feeding up the chain. But let's say he's not able to, for whatever reason, if he's ill enough that he can't and he passes it off, if they still go get a GM and they actually want the GM to be the GM, like they're not worried about, we're getting information from the GM and we're giving it back to my, my brother or my uncle or whatever. And instead it's like, okay, you're going to run the operations here. We're going to handle stuff, because I mean, these are rich people, by the way. They don't have to be involved if they don't want to, but they also could. It really depends. We just don't know. Like, we don't really ever know what they do or don't do now. How much because here's the thing. If these guys really were running things the way that you would think that they want to, the way John wanted it, Saquon Barkley would still be on this team. Right. They would have paid him all the money that he wanted. He would be on this team. So I don't know what level that they're involved in or not involved in. What I can honestly say is, it looked like the Giants made the right choice in 22 early. It looked like a couple of people's egos got extremely inflated and they chose to go a different route. They chose to follow the internal pressure of keep Jones, keep Barkley, and went away from the original plan. So now it's just trying to get pieces around those guys, but then those guys failed and they got rid of them and moved on. And those pieces didn't work out because now you didn't. So now you had to start over. The problem is, I don't think their ego ever went away. I think their ego stayed there and just said, I just need a quarterback. I just need a quarterback. You get me a quarterback and I'm going to win. And now you're clearing the decks. You're right. We have a bunch of parts. It's going to be what happens here. Who's making this decision, what they're going to allow. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but maybe you need to reach out to somebody like an Eli, like somebody else with some Giant ties to say, hey, we just want your input. We just want your input on some of this stuff. Dig into the past that way, but don't just stick to your family and do that. It's a little scary. We just don't know.
The comment, there are a lot of great. By the way, for everyone who's in chat, John and I are like, I don't know if you can tell, we're super focused right now because there's a lot going on. We're not ignoring you guys. Normally we put all your comments up.
Yes.
We've been reading your comments. There are a lot of great comments, and we probably should have them all up. Maybe I like that running commentary that we had.
I forgot to turn it on tonight. I'm sorry.
Look, we got to live in the real world. If John's got cancer, unless you want Joe Schoen running the ship right now, Chris Mara and Tim McDonald are going to be having more influence right now. There's no white knight coming. There's no cavalry coming over the hill to save the Giants. It is what it is. There's nobody here that's going to come in and fix this for them. So it's going to have to be, if you don't want them, it would be them saying, you know what, Shane's going to run. I don't think they're going to be like that anyways. Christ, Shane admitted, I didn't fire Daboll.
Right.
If he's telling the truth, I assume he's telling the truth. Daboll said, I didn't fire him. They fired him. So the question is do you want John making the decision? Do you want Chris making the decision? Or do you want Tim? Everyone in the chat's going to say, I don't want any of them making the decision. But they're going to. Somebody's going to. So do you want Cancer John? And again, wow. I don't mean that to sound bad.
No, I know.
But look, I don't know if you guys, how many people out there have had people in their family with cancer. It's serious shit. It affects you. It influences it. You're fighting for your life. There's more important things going on. And do you want John in that state of mind making these types of decisions? Or do you want somebody else who's a little more clear-headed? That's the reality of the situation. I may be sounding like I've had cancer myself. So I'm talking from somebody with experience. So you don't, when you have it, you don't focus on other things because your life is at stake.
Right.
So,
right.
So Chris and Tim are probably going to be the guys, right or wrong, and they probably should be the guys given John's mental state. That's all I'm saying. That it's a shitty situation, but we have to live in the real world. Pete Rozelle is not coming, or Paul, or who was it back in the day? Oh, yeah, Pete Rozelle. Pete Rozelle is not coming in to intervene between Tim Mara and Wellington Mara to save the Giants. That's not happening. That was a completely different situation where those two hated each other so much that they couldn't even decide on anything, and the league had to get involved. Right. That's not happening. That's not the situation. There is no animosity in the organization that's causing a loggerhead here. So I've seen people say that the league's got to get involved. The league's not going to get involved.
Why would they get involved? Because they would do that.
There's no reason for the league to get involved.
They're not running to the Raiders or the Titans or some of those other teams that have been sucking for a while. They're not worried about them. So
one of the guys that used to be on the site and post all the time from the New York Football Giants was Pat Hanlon.
Yes.
And that had to change given the way social media went and everything. They took a step back. That doesn't mean they don't read. Pat still reads all the time. The New York Giants players and officials read BBI all the time. When I go to training camp, I haven't done it in a while, but when I go to training camp, even the people that work the fence will say, I read the site all the time. And I go into the building. I read the site all the time. They read the site, they read your comments, they appreciate it. They probably don't appreciate it right now because we're all pissed. We've been pissed for so long.
Paul doesn't, but yeah.
But well, he does because then he
doesn't appreciate everybody. I can
then he gets mad at me. Where was I going with Pat on this? Now I got
everybody read they read it, they know what's going on.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with this, but anyways, the Giants are aware. The Giants are aware of how we all feel. They know we're upset. What I wonder is there any self-reflection going on in the organization? Is there anybody looking at and saying, you know what, this isn't working. Something we're doing is wrong. Something that the process is wrong. The way we think about things is wrong. The way we handle things is wrong. We've got to take a step back. And John C. talks about it all the time, self-scouting. And I think he's talking more about the players, but you could encompass the whole organization about this. Do they take a step back? And Joe Schoen talked about it in the press conference, but do they really do that? Is he just saying these things when he says, we're going to take a step back and look at how we handle everything? Do they really do that? I don't know if they really do that.
We've heard it before. We've heard it before. If you go back, and to give credit, Bobby Skinner shared it in a video he did today. There was a link in the description to a John Mara press conference when they fired Pat Shurmur. And when they do the press conference, it talks about they fired Pat Shurmur, but they were keeping Dave Gettleman. They were going to look at everything, including all of their software, the way we scout players, the way our medical, we're looking at everything. That's what, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're constantly looking at everything. But you know what's really funny? You usually don't like. So if you're, so my day job is with a software company. I do sales side, but we have a programming team. You don't let the programmers QA their own production. Why? Because they're looking to see that it does what they made it to do. They're not looking to see if it does things it's not supposed to do. They're literally trying to confirm they did a good job. You need somebody else coming in and looking at it and going, dude, this is stupid. Like, this is not working. So that's the problem. When you QA yourself, what are you actually looking for? if you're just confirming that you're doing certain things, or you've already set your mind up, oh, we need to add a new scout. Oh, this scout's bad. You're going to find reasons why that scout's bad, even though your process might be the reason that it's bad, not the particular scout. So anyway, the point is having the same people look at the same problem isn't necessarily going to fix it.
And it's
life. You're going to be late for your dinner, by the way.
I know she's going to have to. She's going to have to. This is more important.
Okay.
Right, we're having lasagna anyway.
This is BBI. That was not me.
Lasagna is better when it's leftovers anyway. It's the world is a people-driven place. So ultimately, you're going to succeed or fail based on people and based on decisions. The people that are running the New York Giants now and the people that have run the New York Giants for the last 15 years have not been good at what they've been doing. I don't like saying that, but it's the truth, and we all know it. They just have not. They can make excuses all they want. They can point to injuries. They can point to bad luck. I'm a firm believer of you create your own luck too. Look, and there have been bad things that have happened. They've had weird plethora of injuries at like wide receiver over the years. It's just been startling. Which begs the question, and this is a whole can of worms, but I do think there is something about the turf in the Meadowlands. But that's a whole other thing. They got to get the right people in here to make the right decisions and to coach the team the right way, and then this will get turned around. There is not a huge difference in most teams in the NFL. There really isn't.
Right. Agreed.
What we do know is if you've got a really good quarterback, you're ahead of the game. If you've got a Patrick Mahomes, if you got Josh Allen, if you've got those kinds of guys at quarterback, you're in every game. I think the Giants might, again, knocking on wood, might have a quarterback who can do some things that will keep this team in if he stays healthy. This gets back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got into this because you said it before we went on. Dart's got to start making better.
Yeah, we'll save that for that for next week. We'll save that for
I think they've got the quarterback. I think they've got some of the other. They've got a left tackle. They've got they've got a pass rusher. They've got some of these things. Can they get somebody in here who can shape it all? That can, and the Joe Schoen part of it is what you were talking about. Who can bring the things together in a way that makes sense. There's some cohesion that all the groceries make a yummy meal. Make it, because since I'm having lasagna tonight, make a good lasagna. Make a great lasagna, because you can screw up lasagna if you don't put the parts together right.
This is true.
Yes. So, and then you're someone who can cook it. Even though it's just throwing it in the oven, but who can cook it.
He doesn't mean you, Mrs. BBI. I promise.
Yes, we need to have somebody who can orchestrate all of this stuff, and so can Tim and Chris, and if it is John, still bring in those right people. The problem is they're 0-2 on general managers, they're 0-4 on head coaches. Why would we have any confidence that they're going to get the right guy? Oh, that's where I was going with Pat Hanlon. Oh, full circle. Full circle. Here we go. Pat Hanlon used to come on the site all the time. And I know people aren't going to believe this, but he used to be kind of gruff with the people on BBI, and one of his favorite things to say on the site all the time was, and I'm paraphrasing, even an idiot can be right twice. Even a clock is right
twice a day.
You know, that was his
broken
favorite.
Clock is right twice a day.
Broken clock is thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Here's kicking it. So I'm hoping Chris, Tim, and John can be the broken clock. Here.
You're hoping the blind squirrel finds a nut. That's what you're hoping.
And that was the other thing that he said too.
Yes.
That was the other thing Pat Hanlon used to say. So that's what So Pat, if you're listening, it's coming full circle. It's rebounding on you guys. Can you find the nut?
Listen, I'm going to beat this drum until it goes past, and it probably won't happen. Hire Tony Pasteurs, go to the Rams, hire Tony Pasteurs, make him the president, and overall, he can bring his own GM, or he can be the GM. I don't give a shit. Bring him in to run the football operations. Tony Pastors, bring in Chris Shula as the head coach. You bring in a couple of other people that are already associated with the Rams. Get some former players that are somewhat either tied to the Rams or even tied to the Giants in the past. I don't care. Bring them in. Let him set his coaching staff the way that he wants. That is going to be such a change from what you've done. Brian Daboll was as easy to predict that it was going to be the coach because you brought in Joe Schoen as the GM. He had connections to Brian Daboll. You knew it was probably going to happen. This case, though, whatever you do, if you're going to do that same combo again, take it from an organization that has won, but not just won with the, like Buffalo won once they got Josh Allen. The Rams have won with Jared Goff. The Rams have won games when they had to play multiple quarterbacks. They brought a Baker Mayfield in off the street on a Tuesday. He played on a Thursday, and he led a game-winning drive. They win constantly because they have a system. They have a coach that's amazing. His assistant coaches go on and get other jobs. Other guys come up, and they're amazing. Just don't go and pick from a tree that has this great, like, freaking trunk, but all the goddamn branches have been wilted and gone. Belichick's tree is a disaster.
Yeah. We've gone up that tree.
Do not go back down there.
Falling off of that tree. Is really, I have to point this. People have emailed me and said that 4-time champs is Hamlin. And if he's using that, I didn't say this, if he's using that phrase all the time, Big Blueberry, it actually may be Hamlin.
That would be pretty funny. That would be pretty funny. So, but go and make that statement. And if you're not going to do that, I'm not against a Mike McCarthy because he's a proven winner. I'm not against, bringing in, maybe another big time coach. Tomlin's really hard to figure out. I do think he might be done in Pittsburgh, but I mean, again, he also looks like a guy who kind of can't wait to be done. Like, he doesn't even look like he likes it anymore.
Oh yeah, Tomlin didn't. Again, and they were getting their asses kicked, but Tomlin's. That was the first time I had seen Tomlin look so worn. Didn't he look tired?
Yeah, he does. Tired. I mean, he looks like, and he can't be happy with the group that he pulled together. I mean, they did something very off script for them, which was go and get an Aaron Rodgers. They don't normally go out and get somebody else's big time named free agent guy to be, and then they traded for DK Metcalf, and he's being roasted. Metcalf can't beat press coverage, and he's barely helping Rodgers. Rodgers looks like an old man back there. I mean, Tomlin looks like his time is done.
I think.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's not that. It was.
Oh, we can talk about.
No, I'm not trying.
She doesn't gymnastics.
I think Paul is trolling me at this time because he's trying to get on he wants another rant from me. I speaking of rants, somebody posted on BPI. Bill Cowher. Jesus Christ.
Okay, just out of curiosity,
that ship sailed 20 years ago.
Hold on a second. How old is Bill Cowher?
I don't know. But
he might actually be younger than Belichick.
I was all on the Bill Cowher.
He is younger than Belichick. He's 68.
Jesus Christ.
God, by that logic, Cowher, if he gets divorced, Cowher could get a girlfriend who's like 18.
Yes. There you go.
There you go. All right.
Is there anything before we get off of this show that we haven't touched upon? We wanted to talk about Hard Knocks. We wanted to talk about anything else from the Patriots game.
Well, the thing with the Patriots game, I'll say this. I thought Abdul Carter, once he got in the game, did show a little bit. There are some things though, and you can back this up. I was pro getting Carter at 3 no matter what. That was my guy. I did not want Travis Hunter. I didn't want anybody else at 3. I wanted Abdul Carter. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in his play on the field. I'm disappointed with the shit that we're hearing, because the one thing you cannot, being young is one thing. Teaching some things on the field is another. Attitude is a hard one to rein in because this seems to be if everything is true from what we're now hearing, this has been going on all season. Well, they haven't been out of it until later. So if Daboll was finding him early, and there are some questions on why he didn't play as much early in Washington Dallas, he was kind of coming in and out. Brian Burns, I remember I was there. I was at the
Oh,
game.
I don't think it was that. It was they couldn't figure out how to get all three of them on the field.
But there have been rumors that he's been constantly late for things, and it goes back to the summer. So the point is, I'm worried about some of that stuff. Hopefully it can get reined in. But the other thing is, though, he needs to be smarter. He does not have a whole lot of recognition to things outside of him. When he comes in off the edge, or if it looks like it pulls away from him, he dives in and stuff goes right past him. You've got to be situationally aware. I do like his physical talent. I think it can be there. But by the way, for all the pass rushers we have, we still can't get to the goddamn quarterback.
Well, again, and that to me gets back to the coaching again. And again, remember, they fired Shane Bowen, who I think we all think was a nincompoop. Charlie Bullen has never coached a defense as a unit. And I talked about this at any level. So they basically have thrown. Oh, I wanted to bring this up real quick. Most people don't watch this. Did you watch the position coach interviews last week? You probably didn't, because most people don't.
No, I try to watch most of them. I don't know which one you're referring to.
Andre Patterson was.
I did not watch that one.
Andre Patterson was asked. The defensive line coach, who was also who was the defensive coordinator with the Vikings for a few years, was asked, was he a little bit miffed that they passed on him in favor of Charlie Bullen? His correct answer initially was, no, it didn't bother me at all. Even if it does, that's the correct answer, because you don't want to create a story. He said, that doesn't bother me at all. He said, I'm too old to be concerned about that stuff. I've got more important. I didn't think about that at all. He then went on for the next 2 minutes or so to basically semi-suggest why he should have been it was as I'm watching this, I'm like, he's pissed. He's pissed that he didn't. And I posted it. I said, anyone picking up on this? And I don't know if anyone responded to me. I went back and looked, and no one had responded at the time. I forgot to go back and look. But I think it bothers Andre Patterson that somebody who's never coached the defense was selected over him to coach. And again, I'm not saying it was the right or the wrong thing. I'm just saying, and at the time I said it was a ballsy thing for Kafka or whoever made that decision to do it, to pick him over him. And but if you go back and watch it, it's still on the site. I still linked to the site. If you watch it, Andre Patterson sounds kind of irritated to me that he wasn't the defensive coordinator.
I have a very weird question. Do you know when an assistant coach, when you fire a coach and somebody moves up to be the head coach, and if you're the positional coach and you get moved to the coordinator, do you get a bump in pay for doing that?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
So they don't give you. I'm serious, because how cheap the Giants are with the way that they do things with the practice squad. It would make sense to take maybe one of the positional coaches who gets paid less to go, no, I don't have to give him that much more.
I did see that they screwed Tamon Fox out of some salary. Did you see that?
I saw that they cut him again. And then
but Dan Dugan or somebody tweeted out that if they had waited a little bit longer, like a day or two, he would have gotten a full paycheck, like game check or something, but he didn't get it because of the way they handled it. So, one of your things you've been harping on lately is they've been cheap. They basically screwed Tamon Fox out of
I think that don't get confused with the amount of money that they spend in the cap stuff.
Right.
The week to week money is, I think they play with those goddamn numbers quite a bit, and it's why they move people up and down.
Yes.
It makes sense of why Amir Smith-Marset didn't get brought up to be the kick returner. Instead, and actually it doesn't make sense why they didn't use him at all, but it makes sense of why some of the receivers, like they'll put a practice squad guy, bring him up 3 times, then say, okay, we'll get another guy on the practice squad, which Ray McLeod, we'll move him up 3 times, then we won't use him. Then they finally go, okay, we need a receiver. We'll go get Isaiah Hodgins because we're not going to have to pay him that much. Right. We'll get him and we'll bring him up.
They're clearly doing that. They're clearly doing it.
And that is
harping on it for a couple of weeks now.
And that's bad business. That is bad.
Well, it's not only that, but it probably is being picked up in the locker room.
Well, that's what I mean. That's bad business.
Do you think Tamon Fox is a little irritated right now? I would be.
I mean, but wouldn't you, as other people on the team, some of these guys are my friends. Like, it just shows how cheap you are about bullshit. But yeah, not to bust on him because I am a pro Carter guy, but here's a guy who's late and shows up for shit, and you're like, we'll sit him for 2 series, but you're going to cut this guy who really could use that extra money, and you cut him just so you don't have to, and then throw him back. It looks bad. You look like your record. You look like the cheap ass 2-win team.
Yeah.
Then that's bad.
And I wanted to address the other thing I wanted to address was the Abdul Carter thing in this sense. There's a lot of revisionist history going on with him in the draft. I've seen a lot of people post like Joe Schoen mistake. Never should have been drafted. Look, Abdul Carter was the obvious choice for the New York Giants at 3. There was hardly anyone out there, anyone on the planet who follows football who would have said take anyone but and the only one exception is my friend Dave Del Cole was really high on the tight end. Dave me on this, which in hindsight the tight end.
But I still would lean to the defender. But
look, and look, I'm not putting Carter in the Evan Neal category. Look, when we saw Evan Neal play, we saw issues with Evan Neal right away. We saw, oh my God, he doesn't have the balance. He's not keeping up with the outside pass rushers. Abdul Carter is not. I made this comparison earlier this week on BBI, Big Blue Interactive.
For those who don't know,
he's not Canavis McGee. Look,
nice way to pull that back out. Nice. He's not Clint Sintum.
Yeah, he's not a Clint Sintum. You can see the talent, even though he's not putting up. Somebody said he's only got 17 tackles. Yeah, that sucks. But you look at him, you can see him on the field. He's not
an elite level player. He can be that.
See it. All you have to do is watch the game, and you can see it. Now, some things I said earlier, you make your own luck. I'm not going to say it's bad luck, but you can see it. And there are things that need to be cleaned up that John has talked about. He can get fooled. He's got to be more disciplined. But what we do know is he's not getting proper. Shane Bowen couldn't coach. He's fired. Charlie Bolin, his position coach, is now running the defense. And I suspect Charlie Bolin's probably over his head. And it's not fair to him, but he's already over his head too. He hasn't been given a full. They threw him again. I keep making this analogy. The bridge is half underwater of the Titanic, and they said, "You bring the ship into New York." It's not happening.
Dock it for us.
It's not happening. So, look, until they get somebody in here, and that's why I kind of like John's suggestion about the defensive coordinator with the Ram, Shula. Right? You're still on the now. If you had to pick McCarthy or Shula, who are you going with?
Shula.
You're going with Shula.
Mm-hmm.
That's a risk for the Giants again if they go with somebody who's not a
proven head coach,
proven head guy.
Yeah,
that's a big risk.
Also known as a retread, by the way. There's other terms you can add to that.
So the question is, do you go the retread safe route and play it safe and get competitive, but probably not really what you want, or do you swing for the fences again? And I have fear that the Giants aren't going to want to swing for the fences because they feel like if they do that and they strike out, they're toast. So they'll probably play it safe.
The one thing in his favor, and I know this is going to sound kind of funny when I say it, like if this is really what they use, but it is the Maras. His name is Shula. If there's any name that can be associated beyond like a Lombardi, Shula is the name that you can associate with long-term NFL success, was there as the league was really taking off, was known for a long time as kind of like it was him and Tom Landry. They were the ambassadors. They were the gentleman coaches. They were the guys that ran their teams.
We're coming full circle again.
Teams that know what they're doing and 2 teams that have great athletes on both sides, then usually the game is decided by the team that hits the hardest.
We came full circle again.
I'm telling you. But if you think about the way the Giants do shit, that might actually be the deciding factor. The fact that his name is Shula.
Yes. But I have a sneaky suspicion there are two things that could be at play. But you said and again, we're going to come full circle again.
Yep.
You said at the very beginning of the broadcast, you said, do the Giants go the route where they pick the person that they're familiar with, which would be a Spags, which would be the defensive coordinator from the Colts. I keep butchering his name.
Lou Anamoru. Lou A.
His name.
Yeah, I kill his last name.
I butcher his name. I can say Kiwanuka and
Anarumo. Yeah, Messiah Kiwanuka. No problem.
I still can't say Victor Demunicace. I still can't say that.
I always let you say it.
Yeah. So, anyways,
but Gano was your biggest one. I always love.
Yeah, I know. I get that one wrong. I get that one wrong all the time. All right. So or do they go the route of the retread because they feel, God, man, we can't get this wrong. If we get this wrong, so they go for McCarthy. They're not going to go. I don't think they're going to go for Belichick. I think that's out. I think even the people like Ian O'Connor have even mentioned that. So, wait, what was that? I missed that comment. What was the comment?
Larry's was George Young was one of Shula's scouts with the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah. So,
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Bill Belichick have a tie to the Colts at one point at a very young point?
Yes. Yeah, he was an intern or something like that. Yeah. He was an intern for the Giants too, right? Wasn't he when he first came to the Giants? Wasn't he intern? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Colts.
I think he did an intern, but I don't know. I don't know if he.
On that note, we probably should wrap.
Anyway,
the trouble. Yeah.
So do me a favor, like, subscribe. We've been rolling. We've been getting there. Ted Marchabroda. There you go. We've been rolling it up. We've included, increased our subscribers. It's been great. We haven't been doing it's hard to do multiple videos during the week when the team's been so bad. We will be hitting it pretty hard in the off season, obviously.
Oh God. Yeah.
A lot of shit's going to be going on there. So
and if it wasn't for the holidays, we would have come out with some short videos when some of these people have gotten fired immediately. It's just John and I had family things conflicting with our schedules. So we would have had some others. We would have been doing more videos recently than we have. So I got one son in the Navy, and it looks like as of next week, probably I'm going to have a second son in the Air Force. So we're moving along. So I got a lot of shit going on with my family and holidays and all that. Yeah, good stuff. You know what? Both my children wanted for Christmas? The Giants to win? Guns. Oh, nice. My daughter wants a Glock, and my son wants a SIG. So I mean. Nice. Okay. Okay. My kids are going to be armed. All I can think of is the line from MASH when Frank Burns leaves and they're like, "Oh, he took his gun and his toothbrush," and Hawkeye's like, "Oh, shooting his mouth off again." That is a show that has not aged well. Have you tried to rewatch MASH? My God! If you watch a couple of episodes from the first season, yeah. There is a reference to one of the other people, and I'm not going to say what it is, that is so racially inappropriate that I was like, oh my God, how did they get away with this even in the 70s? Oh, I didn't know. I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about it's basically the Alan Alda show. It's unwatchable, but I watched it all the time because there was nothing else on. I thought you were going with some of the shit it was about. No, go back and watch a few of the first episodes. You'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah. There's the person that they give a nickname to that I'm like, oh my God, that is not okay. But yeah, they got away with it. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm out of here. Yes, for those who posted elsewhere, I will make every attempt to get it up on the other platforms in just a little bit. So I'll try to get that done tonight for you. But, keep in mind, this is a labor of love, by the way. Just, feel free to do some liking and subscribing, and I make that a lot easier for me. But that being said, go enjoy your lasagna. You are in big trouble for being late. I'm in big trouble. Well, I'm in really big trouble. I got to go. We'll catch you again real soon.